So we'll read from Revelation chapter 17. Sunanda, please read the chapter for us. Revelation chapter 17.
Chapter.
Revelation 17.
Hello. Okay. The great one of seven angels, who had seven bowls, came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of great prostitute, who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of those whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk." And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of earth's abomination. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled greatly. But the angel said to me, "Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will marvel to see the beast, because it was and is not is to come. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. There are also 7 kings of the 5 whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come, and when he does come, he must remain only a little while. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8, but it belongs to the 7, and it goes to destruction. And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour, together with the beast. These are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called the chosen and faithful. And the angel said to me, "The waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they are the beast there, and they and the beast will hate the prostitute. They will make her desolate and naked, and devour her flesh, and burn her up with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth."
Thank you. Now, I mentioned to you that the last 2 vial judgments are very important in the sense that it will be a final stroke of judgment that is going to be delivered by God upon Satan and his powers, and on the personification or the embodiment of the false world religious system. So before I dive into this chapter, I want to just recap of what is going to happen after the 70th week. So let me share my screen. and put you through this. Let me show you this. Able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, listen carefully. This arrow that you see on the left-hand side is the 7-year period, which we have already discussed on different things like birth pangs, and in the mid, what will happen, and the Great Tribulation, and the rapture, and the trumpet judgment, and the end of it is the last 7th trumpet, which is also called as the third woe. So that is that time where the 70th week will be fulfilled, because the mystery of God is completed. That's the 70th week, which was mentioned to Daniel, will come to a completion upon the 7th trumpet. But 7th trumpet is also a declaration. It's an announcement of the next 7 quick judgments that is about to happen, which is called the 7 bowl judgments. So I told you that the seals, involved years to complete. The trumpets took months to complete. And this bowls that we are going to see after the 7th trumpet or the 70th week is only days. So the 7 trumpets that we just studied in chapter 16 is going to happen in more or less 30 days. And this figure we already saw was from Daniel chapter 12. About the 1,290 days. Now we see the 7 bowls, and you see there is a difference in here that the 7th seal was an announcement, the 7th trumpet was an announcement, but the 7th bowl is action. That means you see the 7 trumpets were embedded in the 7th seal, and the 7 bowls were embedded in the 7th trumpet. That means in the whole picture, you see that the seals progressed slowly, and then the trumpets came. It's an announcement of the 7th seal. It came in few months. And then this final thing that came, the announcement of the final judgment came in very quick time. So you look at the last 2 bowl judgments, and I told you there are 2 important events that are going to happen in those 2 bowls. One is Armageddon, another is the destruction of mystery Babylon. So I told you that mystery Babylon stands for a system and also a city. And when we come to study this, we will come to know that. So how can you destroy a system? You know, a system is actually a philosophy doesn't have a body. It is a way of thinking. Right. So how can you destroy a way of thinking? How can you kill or demolish that? So what we are going to see is that system that we are talking about, the religious system that is operating today, is going to be embodied in a city. And that is the reason why the last verse of chapter 17 is which says, the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So that one city will now that will come in the final days, or which will rise in the final days, which will be an embodiment or personification of everything that had gone before. The whole world's alternate system of thinking, both let it be religious, let it be political, let it be philosophical, all those things will be converged into one city where it is practiced by people. And that is what you're going to see in the end. It's what I think is going to happen. So from that time, you see that the wrath is finished, because we saw in the seventh bowl, when it was poured out, the announcement was made that it is done. That means now the wrath of God is coming to a close. So 30 days after the 7-year period, we are going to see the wrath of God completed. But then there is another 45 days also, which is mentioned in Daniel chapter 12, which could be the sheep goat judgment that we read in Matthew's Gospel chapter 25, where sheep and goats are be divided and they are going to be judged. And from there we see the 1,000-year reign of Christ upon this earth, which is called the millennium. And then after that we see the New Jerusalem and New Earth. A lot of things attached to that. I'm not going to the detail. I'll come to it when we reach there. But this is the overall timeline in which we are going to look at from now on. So please have this picture or this timeline in your mind, and we are going to explain things that are happening, because Bible, whenever actions are mentioned in the scriptures, we must listen very carefully about why certain events are mentioned and why certain events are not mentioned. Why certain places are mentioned and why certain places are not mentioned. For example, the Great Wall of China. Of course, the world considers it as a great achievement and maybe one of the 7 wonders of this world. Why is this not mentioned in the Bible? And there are so many other events or places which the world's historian considers as very important and so on. It's not even mentioned in the Bible. Why? Because Bible is, first of all, not a history book. And second, there is a principle that is directing the events and places and people that has been mentioned in the Bible. Because man's greatest problem is that he has fallen away from God. That was the greatest problem. And God's greatest desire is to bring man back to fellowship with himself. So if you look throughout the scriptures, events and places and people that surrounds this plan of God to bring this fallen man back to God are selected. That's why there is a selection that is taking place. That means those people, events, and places which contribute to that great plan of God on bringing man back to God, back to himself, that eternal plan of God of having and enjoying man, that great design that God had in the beginning. Whatever events or people or places, then those things are mentioned. So there is a selection and there is a connection. So these two words you must remember. Whenever we read the Bible, when people ask, why is this not mentioned in the Bible? Because it's not connected. It's Great Wall of China is not connected to the salvation of man, it in any way. Jerusalem is, because there are a lot of things happening there which were pointing towards that great, wonderful plan of God, which eventually brought people together to God through that sacrifice of the Lord Jesus Christ. So there are nations mentioned which depicted the future evil that is going to come and how God is going to destroy that in a greater way. So events or people are included which pointed to the future events are mentioned. Why? Because they point us. So I told you that Old Testament basically stand as a picture book of God, of trying to show forth a prophetic understanding of what God is going to do finally. So you must look from above and see that all of the Bible is written to show you the plan of God. And Babylon is no different. Why it is mentioned Babylon, if I remember right, it's around 400 times in the Bible, in different places, starting from Genesis, right? And why is it mentioned so much, so frequently? Because of this one thing that I told you yesterday, that the spirit of Babylon is there, prolonged and going on from centuries and centuries. And this is something that you need to understand in order to find out this mystery Babylon. And people are more focused to see, oh, which city is mystery Babylon? Is it New York? I think they are more short-sighted of this, because it's much bigger than that. It's not about one geographical location. Of course, I know that in the end times, there is one geographical location which will represent all that. But the issue is much deeper than that. The God is not against one city. In fact, all cities of the world have in some measure all these abominations. But the underlying principle behind this is rebellion, because the word, the Nimrod, the man who started the religion, his name, Hebrew scholars say, is rebel. So underlying this world philosophy is this idea of rebellion, So from there, you see that all of this, starting from Babel, it is rebellion against God. It is saying, who is God? You see the same spirit in all world empires. So I'll come to that in a moment. So this is the background from which we are operating. So God has to judge this rebellion, because rebellion is like witchcraft. Samuel was telling Saul, obedience is better than sacrifice, and to hearken is better than the fat of rams. First, I'm quoting from 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. For rebellion is like witchcraft. How rebellion is like witchcraft? Rebellion against God is like making, when you rebel, what you're saying is, I don't care about who God is. My will is supreme. So in this, witchcraft is that you are making yourself God. So for rebellion is a sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Right? So rebellion is equated to witchcraft, and stubbornness is equated to iniquity and idolatry. That's very important for us to realize. And that is why man had to find a replacement for God, because it originated from his rebellion to God. And this rebellion, God cannot just close his eyes. God's patience, I told you about two types of anger. One is the thumos anger, another is the orge anger, O-R-G-E, right? It's a difference. The orge anger is an anger that is simmering, that is very real, but not shown outside. God is angry with sinners all day. We read in Psalms 7 and verse 11. So that kind of anger, God is angry, he thinks what is happening today, but it's simmering. It is not boiled over. But thumos anger is a boiled over anger. That is why I told you that the wrath of God mentioned in Revelation is thumos anger. It's come to the tipping point, a point in which God cannot wait any longer. He has to deal with it. He has to bring about justice and judgment, and pretty fast as well. So the thumos anger is directed towards two directions. Now, both of them are in allegiance to each other. They're allies. So those are two directions, or two systems. One, Antichrist, representing the world political system, or the empires of the world. And there's a final empire, or the one who is going to rule the final empire is the Antichrist. And the city, which is representing the worldly system, or the philosophy, or the false religion, or the idea of rebellion against God. And God is going to judge these two entities in the big time. In fact, one entity is going to be destroyed by him himself, the partner himself. We'll come to that. So you need to understand that God is angry, and his anger has reached a tipping point. It is going to boil over. So these two chapters, chapter 17 and chapter 18, talks about his anger directed towards this Babylon, the entity called Babylon. So we'll look into it now. This starting from verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show you the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters. Now, you read these two chapters, you will see imagery. Okay. Now, when you see imagery and you want to find out the meaning of that imagery, the first place is to look at the context. You saw that in the first chapter, John was using imagery of a candlestick. But in the same chapter, the Lord Jesus is explaining the imagery, because that is a mystery. You see a candlestick. What do you see? You see a candle, but candlestick is a pointer to something of a greater reality. So when imagery is used, you look for a meaning or a pointer. What does this point to? So in that first chapter, John is mentioning or shown this candlesticks that the Lord is holding. In verse 12, he says, I saw seven golden candles. And he says, the mystery of the seven stars that they saw is my right hand, and the seven golden candlesticks. The seven stars are the angels of the seven churches, and the seven candlesticks which thou sawest are the seven churches. So it was very clear that these seven stars are the angels of the seven churches, and the seven candlesticks are the seven churches. So that means the meaning is explained within the context of that particular revelation. So again, in the same way, we need to first look in the context to find out the meaning, rather than going and giving a meaning of our own. So the order is first look for, and you know very well that this is not a physical woman located in space and time, because we know that this woman, the description of this woman will come to know that is riding on a beast and so on. So basically, literal it's very clear that it's not a literal woman or a prostitute that we see in the world. No. So it's talking about figurative language here. So what is the meaning of this? So if you look in the same chapter and the last verse, what a great whore that sits upon many waters. So how can one woman sit on many waters? If it is literal, she'll drown, right? So it is not really real water or real sea or ocean. It's pointing to something. And this great whore that is sitting is not a woman in a literal sense. It is pointing to something else. So let's look at the last verse of this chapter. Just like the last verse of chapter 1 is an explanation. God is also or the angel is also telling and giving an explanation of who that is. The woman thou shalt see is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. So the sea is what? The sea that they saw is the kings, the kings and the people of this world. So, so there is this explanation given that this woman is a great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. So the oceans are so. One thing what we need to realize that this woman is representing something, finally representing a city, but it is also representing an ideology of world religions. And she is sitting and controlling those kingdoms. So she is actually behind. Now, if you look for an ideology, you can't see it with your physical eyes. But it is there. It is very much there. That worldly philosophy, the worldly false religion, is very much there behind, and it only God can reveal these things to us. Now, if you look at the world historians will tell you the different events or the different empires that ruled over the past. They will tell you, okay, there was Egyptian culture, then there was Assyrian culture, then there was Babylonians who took over. After that, the Medo-Persians came, and then the Greek came, and the Romans came. And so they will give you all those kind of historical narrative from a worldly perspective. But what they fail to understand is the system that is behind this whole thing. And that only God can see, because man cannot see that. An example. Can you read Daniel chapter 10, verse 20? This is God is unveiling to us what is going on behind the scenes. A world historian can see, for example, the Persian Empire, and after that the Greek Empire, and they will tell you the timeline and so on. But God is revealing to us what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, Daniel chapter 10, verse 20.
Then he said, "Do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I have gone forth, indeed the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is noted in the scripture of the truth. No one upholds me against this except Michael, you prince."
Yeah. Yes. So what is happening on the earth, historians can tell you. What is happening behind the scenes, only God can tell you. So from a historical point of view, or man's point of view, it is a transition from, they will tell you, okay, in so and so time, the Persians came, and the Persians defeated the Babylonians. And then in this particular king's time, the Greek king came and conquered the Persians, and so on. They will tell you the conflict and all the details of all that. But behind the scenes, what is happening is, there is a war going on. There's a struggle going on. And there is this prince of Persia trying to make war, and he is influencing. So he is behind or riding the king, And this is what people really, from worldly perspective, cannot understand. The kings of this world, or the empires of this world, which are in rebellion to God, they are being driven by this prince, or this force that is behind. And once the prince of Persia goes, we are told that the prince of Greece will come, and Michael and his angels are fighting. So there is this cosmic war going on within there. And once the prince of Persia is defeated, that means his kingdom has come to a close. So this is what is happening behind the scenes. So this underlying force, or the philosophy, or the world false religion, which is the root of that is in devil, that is operating in many ways behind the scenes. So that is what we are talking about here. Okay, so keep that in mind, that behind the scenes, God is trying to unveil this. This world will not tell you, because it is deception. They wanted to deceive you with philosophies and all that. But basically, what is happening behind the theory of evolution, the theory of equality, of freedom, and all that kind of good words, must be the same spirit. The same spirit is operating. The prince of the unknown world is operating behind. Okay, so what happens is, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. Now, in the Bible, if you look that the fornication or adultery is something that people commit in a physical sense, which is unlawful or illicit, outside the framework of God's plan. Okay, but it also, if you look at the Old Testament, that Israel's departure from God and their acts of idolatry were equated to fornication and adultery. You read through the prophetic books, and this is very, very clear that Israel has committed adultery because she had a relationship with God and she has gone and committed adultery with other gods, other pagan deities, and sacrificed to them, and even sacrificed their own children to those pagan deities. And God is telling, look, you're an unfaithful wife. You have committed adultery. And this is the same idea that is being brought forth here. God has made man in his image to be near him, to come to him. But here, instead of coming to the Creator, instead of honoring them, every person's conscience, God has put this search, this thirst and hunger for God. But instead of using that hunger and thirst to come to the truth and be thankful for all that God has done in the creation, they have gone and worshipped idols and false deities. And this is something that we see throughout the ages. Throughout the ages, the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk with the wine of fornication. I'll just show you the prominent empires of this world, and how those empires have done fornication in this sense. Now, able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I told you about the harlot and the mother of harlots riding a beast. Okay, I'll just come to that. But let me just give you an example, a sample. Okay, just a sample of the ancient empires. Now we know there are 6 major empires. A major, I would say. There are smaller offshoots of all that, but major, if you look at the history of the known world, you will see there are 6 major empires that had come and gone. One is Egyptian. Okay, look at the number of Egyptian gods and goddesses. You can go to the internet and go read out the speciality of all these gods and goddesses. Everything, some for fertility, some for war, some for harvesting, and some for protection, some for the mother god. So many different types of. Basically, these are all a representation of this false system or the rebellion of man against God. Look at, for example, the Assyrian gods, Ashur and Ishtar. The Ishtar gate that we see in Babylon, and this is the list of things about the Assyrian gods. Babylonian gods, Marduk, Nergal. Marduk is the main god of the Babylonian pantheon, and the Persian gods. And look at the list of Persian gods. So this Greek gods, Zeus. Even now we see that the statue of Zeus is transferred from. We already studied that. Now it's in the city of Berlin, the seat of the devil. Okay, the Roman gods, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. So look at this empires that have come and gone, and you will see a great picture. Who is riding those kings? How this close relation, the illicit relationship between the kings of this world and the force behind them. And they're not atheists, they're not saying there are no gods. The problem is, if he is an atheist, they will soon come to God, because they will have still that hunger within them to search. Is there a true God? But the problem is, most of these people are not atheists. They were believers, but believers in what? Believers in a false God. Now, this is a deception of the devil. Devil is not pushing people to atheism, basically, because atheist also has got a God. Who's that God? Himself. Because he knows that I make decisions. I am the one who decides. and I am the one who makes choices. So I will do what I want. So I showed you all this because this is the kind of fornication or the illicit relationship that the kings of this world had with the evil system behind it, or the invisible system behind it. Okay, so let's go to the verse 3 of that. And it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Obviously, it's a reference to Antichrist, scarlet-colored beast. And she is sitting upon a scarlet beast. So, in this woman is also, in verse 2, if you read carefully, you will see that she had committed fornication with the kings of the earth, or the kingdoms of this earth. And now she is depicted as sitting upon the scarlet beast, Antichrist, which is of the last kingdom, or the last days. So how do we understand this? So she is a system that had operated or controlled or close relationship with the kings of the former kings. But now she is coming and expressing herself in explicit terms. That means in visible terms, trying to sit upon this final beast. So that means that in the final days, in that end times, when Antichrist is going to be revealed, she will be exhibited or been seen in a greater measure. And this is what brings it to point that to a city, because you can't see a system, you can't see the philosophy, you cannot see a conglomeration of world ideas all coming together. These are all behind the scenes. But in the final days, she is going to make herself known, and that will be known through a city where all these ideas and philosophies will be personified or practiced. So that's the idea. So in the last days, that she's going to have close relationship with Antichrist. That means Antichrist is going to support this world system of false religion. Okay, he will say, fine, that is good, So that is the reason why one of the signs that we should look for the coming of the Antichrist is a one world religion. One world religion. That means all the religions of this world has to be converged or to be amalgamated together to make a one big unified religion. Now, if you have noticed the comments of Pope and other world religious leaders, he is more inclined to have an inclusive religion. He's interested in to have an inclusive religion. But the Bible talks about exclusive religion. Jesus said, unless a man takes up his cross and follow me, deny himself, take up his cross and follow me, he cannot be my disciple. So that is exclusive in nature. You cannot follow him if you are not denying yourself, if you are not willing to take up the cross. You cannot follow that. That means you're excluding people who are unwilling to deny themselves, unwilling to take up the cross, and unwilling to follow Christ. But the leaders of this false religion is trying to be inclusive. That means they're trying to compromise the claims of Jesus or the statements of Jesus, and trying to bring in all religions where they say that both this and that is right. Example, Jesus said, if you hate your father, if you don't hate your father or mother and brother and sister, wife and children, you cannot be my disciples. That means you have to set aside your relationship, and you have to keep your relationship with Christ or God above that of your human relation. That's again exclusive. Exclusive. That means you can't do both. You cannot please your relationships and then please God. You have to set aside that and then come, even at the cost of losing those relationships. That's exclusive. And again, Jesus said in the same chapter, Luke 14, I'm quoting from Luke 14, who's not unwilling to leave all that he has It's again exclusive. That means you can't keep everything that you have and still follow Christ. You should be willing to keep it on the altar. So Luke 14 is very clear. You are talking about an exclusive system in which you are willing to let go of your relationship. You're willing to let go of your own status and pride. You're willing to let go of your possession for the sake of Christ and the gospel. And in this final world system is going to inclusive. They're going to say that that's all right. You did not do all that. You can still be part of this. You did not deny yourself, you still be part of it. You don't have to give up your wealth. You can still be part of this. So it will be more inclusive, and that inclusive religion is very popular. Today, if you go, you will see this kind of system. In fact, it is already there. Let me share my screen. Where are we now? Okay. Okay. Are you there? Able to see? Okay. Religion of the last days. So we all see that there is a worldwide longing to achieve a greater measure of unity. I told about this inclusive faith, right? Now, how is it manifested? In 1988, the Council for a Parliament of World Religion, if you can search for this in the internet, you will find out CPWR, was founded to organize a centennial celebration of the original Parliament. Okay, so basically what it is they will call all known religions of this world and trying to converge ideas, whatever good that these religions can give you, they are going to converge and include. Okay, so it is headquartered in Chicago. You know this. Our Vivekananda went and gave his speech there. You hope you read it in the history. So its board of trustees are elected from various faith communities. So that means all faith communities are stakeholders in this thing. And then they already have 4 parliaments held in Chicago, Cape Town, Barcelona, and most recently 2009 in Melbourne, Australia. So behind the scenes already this conglomeration is happening of various faith communities coming together, dialoguing. So the leaders of this main religions are already in hand. So they're not going to criticize each other. They're not going to exclude one another. In fact, they're going to include. They're going to bring everyone into under the same umbrella. And this is exactly what this woman is going to do in the last days. It's going to bring about a world council of religion under one umbrella, and that Antichrist is okay with that thing, okay with that system. Okay, so let's read on. So this woman is sitting upon the scarlet-colored beast, name full of names. The same woman who's had fornication with or illicit relationship with the kings of this world is also going to have close relationship with Antichrist. And Antichrist is going to support the system. And the system will find its fulfillment in something more clear. So, okay, let's go on. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of a fornication. Now, this woman, she'll be very attractive to look at, because this false religion, which is going to come as a one world religion under one umbrella, is going to be very much tempting for people. People will bring about this kind of argument. Look, see the number of killings and hatred that is happening in the name of religion, right? Why do you want to say that Jesus Christ is the only way? Why can't you just say that Jesus Christ is one way? Okay, you say you believe in Jesus, fine. We have no problem with that. But why don't you just say that Jesus Christ is one way, Krishna is another way, Muhammad is another way, Buddhism is another way? Why don't you just accept everything as many streams of the same river, or all end up in the sea? So why not take that position? So it's very palatable. It's very attractive. So this woman, arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. So that means this woman will have the backing, the economic backing. That means luxury is one of the things. That means if you look at the major religions of this world, the wealth that they hold in their hand is so big. Take the example of the Roman Catholicism, and the amount of property and material wealth they are holding is enormous. You can buy countries with that money, right? That much of money they are holding in their hands. And even if you look at other religions also, you see that most popular religions are very rich, extremely rich. And this false religion is money will be a bait. Now, I don't know, some of you may have heard, or some of you may not have heard about secret societies. Now, one of the secret societies you might have heard is Freemasonry. Now, this is very active in many places. Even here in Calicut, we have one of their lodges. And if you look at the list of people, it's a secret, but somehow we come to know about who's who. See, if you look at the members of that, for example, the society in Calicut, I know some of them. They are the who's who of Calicut. They are the main doctors and the main architects and the main guys. They have a building there, and if you go on Saturday evening, just pass by the road and see the all expensive cars, and you can recognize some of them, all big names. Why? Because it is very attractive. Because it is a place where they network. It is not about worship alone. It is money. It is attractive because it is. If you are a Freemason, then a lot of things you can have. If you go to US, they will give you a lodging for a very cheap rate. You will rent a car for a very nominal rate, and a lot of perks and a lot of business connections you can have. Networking is happening. So mainly people who join these kind of secret societies are not necessarily wanting to worship devil, but because of the commercial attraction, because of the money, because of the networking and the business opportunities that it might come, they're drawn to it. So the one world religion of this final days is also going to be the same. People are drawn to this idea because of the luxury and because of the glamour of that. So that is what it is pointing here. Is decked with gold and precious stones, and having a golden cup in her hand, full of abomination and filthiness to her. And now this is again very true of secret societies and this final world religion. Outside it is golden stones, pearls, but inside people can't see what is inside. If you have a golden cup in your hand, no one will see what is inside. But inside is full of abomination and filthiness of a fornication. People will be attracted to this false religion or this false societies by looking at the outside. Look, gold, pearls, silver, precious stones. Come, let's go. And they will not know what is inside the cup. And this kind of trap, I see the list of people in this Freemason. So say the Christians going to churches. How did they end up there? Astonished to find, you're a Christian, you're going to a church. And in fact, a church that is claiming to be Bible believing. How did you land up here? They did not know that there is fornication and filthiness inside the cup. Why did they go? Love of money. Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Satan is going to use that hook in order to bring people to this abomination and this filthiness in those final days. Today is really happening. People going to church, landing up in a secret society. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But it's happening. You can go and verify that. Look at the list of people who are joining the secret societies. Christians are there. Muslims are there. Hindus are there. They're all there. Why? Not because they necessarily want to worship the devil, but they want money. They want to become rich. They want to make a name for themselves. And this is a hook that Satan is using today in order to draw people away from him. So beware, my brothers and sisters. I want to tell you from my heart that beware of this devil showing precious stones and gold and silver before you, and that what is inside the cup will be hidden. No one will see that. Only when you get into it, you will know. Oh, I'm trapped. I'm trapped. Is this what it is? That is why the love of money is the root of all evil. Today, even the most sincere of Christians are tempted in this area to become rich, to become powerful, to have a better and luxurious lifestyle, and drawn into this false religion. And they are willing to compromise upon the principles on which the Lord has built his church. He says, the gates of Hades cannot prevail over it. It is exclusive in nature. You cannot serve, it's interesting to note that God did not say you cannot serve God and devil. It was easy, black and white. But he did not say that. If that was the case, most of us said, okay, that's true, exactly true. You can't serve God and devil. But that's not what he said. He said you cannot serve God and mammon. Why? Why did he say that? Because that is the temptation. To serve both God and mammon. Mammon is what? Wealth, money. So the temptation is to live a godly life at the same time to enjoy all the luxuries of this world. That's a temptation. And that's the reason why Jesus put this finger at the right point. He says, my friend, wrong. You cannot serve both God and mammon. Either you serve mammon or you serve God. You can't serve both. And this is the hook by which Satan is going to pull people into this false religion. So beware of this. I would warn you. The word of God has already warned us. Beware. Do not strive to become rich because they fall into many temptations. And this is one of the temptations, to be inclusive, to rub off those lines, what Jesus had very clearly put. So may the good Lord help us as we continue our study to identify this unseen philosophical system, unseen world religion, which is trying to be inclusive, trying to rub off all the boundaries, the framework that the Lord has put, and to say everything is okay. Everything is not okay. Jesus Christ, I am the way, the truth, and life. God bless.